Hello, Excellence family. It's Danny Barnes, Director of Agent Relations with Excellence Realty. Welcome to Title Tuesday. I'm here with Paul Sardone, attorney with Excellence Title. How you doing, Paul?
Doing good, Danny. Thank you.
Good. We got a good subject today. Red flags for fraudulent transactions in real estate. So at this point in time, I'll turn it over to the expert. Go ahead.
Thanks, Danny. What I want to talk about today is things that agents can look out for when there are red flags for a transaction potentially being fraudulent. On our end, there's been an uptick and we get all the alerts, and I actually dealt with something about a year and a half ago. That was a potential fraud case that we caught before the transaction went through. But the big red flag for the agent is if the property is not listed and you are dealing with somebody solely through email communication who is not an owner occupant. There's a lot of schemes going on now with out of the country notaries or out of state notaries, and the big one is vacant land. So a lot of places, North Florida, we do a lot of closings on lots. A lot of times people will present themselves as the owner of this, contact the realtor. That's where the scheme starts, right? So say, I want to sell my property, no problem. Everything's pretty easy to sell right now. Agent's happy, they got this lead. All right, you find a buyer.
Yeah, here's
not on the MLS, right? Send over the contract.
I'll email you the listing agreement, sign all the paperwork. Let's get
everything DocuSign, everything done by and then usually the pattern is typically once the transaction is signed, then at some point the person contacts us and tells us they're going to be out of town the day of the closing if they can get it notarized there. And another red flag is that they have their own notary. Then they say, well, arrange for the notary, because we could do electronic closings, we could set things up for them, and they don't want any of that. So typically that's another red flag. And then the big one is they're not coming to the closing and then they want the money wired to an account, a third party, which we don't allow, or out of the country. So there's been, we get alerts. I get alerts from Old Republic, who are underwriters. There's been 4 different transactions that occurred in December of this same exact scheme where they had claims filed and they lost money. And as agents, now there's a real person who owns the property who presents themselves. Your buyers are not going to be happy that they bought something that doesn't belong to the seller.
Wow.
So it became, they paid over $2 million in claims in December alone in Florida.
You said that one of the red flags was it's what the money's wired to a third party. What example?
Third party in the bank, so they say, oh, can you send the money to my company, or can you send the money to this person handles my accountant, there's always an excuse. We don't allow that, and just nobody should. But if you're working with less experienced title companies, they may fall for this, where it happens all the time. Even if you own a property in your LLC, I can't even transfer the money to you personally. I have to transfer it to that LLC. It has to be the same person on title or entity on title receiving the funds.
Right.
That's a big red flag. And then it's happening. We hear this and we think, okay, but it did happen. It happened with a church that was supposed to be the seller, and somebody was fraudulently signing deeds on their behalf. And the buyer was a buddy of mine, and something just didn't feel right about the person I was talking to. It was a Haitian church, and the guy I was talking to was definitely not Haitian. And I kept asking him, how do you represent it? He just was very vague. And so I sent a FedEx letter to the actual church, and immediately was contacted by someone from the church who had no idea this person was doing this. Yeah, that was almost 2 years ago. And that was a $2 million transaction.
Good catch.
So it happens, my guy would have bought this without realizing it, if just those red flags hadn't been present and I hadn't known about them. So as agents, it's always a scary thing, but just if you try to have the ways to prevent it is try to have a phone conversation with the person. Try to, even if you could do like a FaceTime and see them. Usually scammers are just on email, and it's probably like, some bank somewhere with a bunch of scammers working on the computers trying to get people. So they won't want to speak to you. And then, also get forwarding address, contact information, and and even send letters to the address on public record sometimes to the owners to see, confirm that they're doing the transaction.
Man, I haven't heard that one. Good material. That's a new one for me, but hopefully a
Yeah,
lot
they
of
find properties that are free and clear because they know there's not gonna be a payoff, and then they target that and pose as the seller.
right, right.
The fraudulent notaries, the whole 9 yards, and you don't think anything of it if you don't know, if you're not on the lookout for it.
So what did your buddy get you for saving his saving him on?
I should hit him up for lunch or something. He hasn't given me anything. He was more pissed off that he spent money on surveys and environmentals and all that, and then he was grateful, but I get it.
I think he owes you a little more than just a little.
Yeah, it's true.
All right. Well, listen, great, excellent subject. I mean, like I said, I haven't heard of that one yet, and the scammers are coming out with different stuff every day. So, once again, we want to thank everybody for watching Title Tuesday. Thank you, Paul. And it's easy to use Lakeland Title. They're little. I mean, they're pretty busy right now. You got a lot of orders coming in, right?
We do. We're really grateful. We're getting orders from all over, and getting good feedback. So anything anybody needs, let us know.
Yeah, but it's very simple. Just visit excellencetitle.com, submit title order, and they'll get you started. So thanks again, everybody. We do this every 2 weeks. Paul, I'll see you in about 2 weeks.
All right. Sounds good, Danny.
All right, everybody, together moving forward. Take care.